You're listening to the Hunting Land Man podcast. This is Slade Priest, your host, the Hunting Land Man.
Rack buck down here on opening day.
If you're interested in rack bucks and real estate and everything that has to do with hunting property, this is the podcast for you.
Well, here we go, the Hunting Land Man podcast. New Ryan, this is episode, 13? 13. We've got a special treat today. Got a guest that I've known. I guess I've known our guest at least since we called it minor league back in the day. I guess probably 8 or 9 years old. But anyway, before we get going, the Hunting Land Man podcast is brought to you by Southern Ag Credit. They take care of all of our clients and ourselves. Our guest today, they take care of plenty of his clients. Also, one of his best friends is also works for Southern Ag Credit. So we've got we're a Southern Ag Credit family here, and our guest is too. We've got Brent McMillan here today. Brent is a fellow agent, a competitor, but a friendly competitor. He just started his new business, McMillan Land and Realty. He's got his fancy new hat on, and he's showing off, and he's strutting here proud with that new business, and we're proud for him. He's got a lot of good stuff going on. He's located in Amite County in Liberty, and I always say this on the podcast, we believe that we provide a great service here at Southern States Realty, and myself at the Hunting Land Man, me and New Ryan and Lori, but there are always good agents out there. There's other options, and sometimes, and Brent will be the first to tell you this, sometimes personalities just, go better one way or the other, and there's great agents just like there's great doctors and great car salesmen and great everything. But Brent McMillan, thank you for being on with us.
Thank you for having me, Slade. Glad to be here today. And you mentioned my hat earlier. When you called me the other day and asked me about coming up here and doing the podcast with you, I kind of got to thinking about it, and I asked you, so was it a video or audio or what? And you said it was both. So I said, man, I don't have anything yet. My company's so new. I've been so busy trying to get everything put together and running smoothly, I said, I haven't got any hats or shirts or anything done yet. So I reached out to this guy named Scott. He owns Deep South Embroidery Service in Tylertown. I said, man, I need a hat now. And he made it happen. So thank you, Scott. Appreciate it. Hats turned out great.
And with everything with COVID going on, to have something happen fast like that, that's good service.
It was. It was great service. Well,
speaking of good service, that's what Brent and I try to provide. Brent is a great agent. If I wasn't an agent, I would definitely consider listing my stuff, my land with Brent. And I wouldn't say that about everybody in the industry. I mean, that's just truth.
That's a big compliment, man. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
You've been one of my better clients over the years, too.
And yes, and I'm actually one of the better. At one time, I used to claim I was his best client, but he doesn't sell as much of the stuff that I like to buy anymore, so I'm not his best client anymore. But today, we're going to cover how to get your land ready to sell. We're going to get into that. I think this is a really good topic. It's a no-brainer topic, but there's things that need to be talked about. Brent, before we get going, take us in a couple of minutes, real estate career, where you started, justify why you know what you're talking about.
Well, Slade, I've been in the business, I guess it's about 15 years now.
Did you get yours in 07?
Yeah, 07.
Same as me.
July of 07, actually.
I was a couple months before you.
Right. But I've always just grew up in the outdoors, hunting and fishing. I worked for longleaf farms growing up and learned a lot about timber and hunting out there as well. I just always had a passion for it. I've always enjoyed meeting people, getting to know people, soaking everything I could soak in. Matter of fact, Cassie Anderson told me one time, she says, I don't know what you need to do in life, but it needs to be something to do with land and people. So what better way to do it than be a land broker? But anyway, I've been in business 15 years now, right at it. Worked for a couple different companies. First two companies I worked for really were more of both national franchises and were known more for residential side. They brought me in to kind of be their land guy, kind of start up a land division, which, had success at both places, and but always had a dream to own my own company. And, I'm an accredited land consultant. When I first got started, I was 21 years old and looked like I was about 15. So a lot of the people that would call me and meet me or see my picture or whatever on the marketing stuff, advertising stuff, would, kind of, well, look, we think you know what you're talking about, but at the same time, I just feel like you're a little too young, so we're going to go with somebody else. So I had to figure out, how to overcome my youth, and I a fellow agent that we worked with at the time asked me, she says, "You ever heard of the Realtors Land Institute?" I said, "No." So she turned me on to that, and I found out about the ALC designation. I said, if I had some credentials behind my name that said that I knew what I was talking about, maybe that'd help me overcome the youth. But the first thing I did was grow the beard. That made me look a little older, And
we've been wondering why you did that.
And it covers up some ugly, But anyway, I went and got my ALC designation, which it isn't the easiest thing in the world to get, but didn't know this when I got started. But as I got to going through and got it, several people came to me and it's like, "How old are you?" And I told them, and so they did some research and come to find out I was the youngest person ever in the state of Mississippi at the time. And I don't know if I still am or not, but at the time I was the youngest person ever in the state of Mississippi to receive their ALC designation.
And if anybody, if you don't know what the ALC is, I'd say it's like your doctorate of land sales, is for the layman's terms.
I'll go with that. But and I was the third youngest in the nation at the time. Now, like I said, I think some other guys have come in and done well and gotten their ALC. And I'm probably like number 5 or 6 now in the nation. But that really helped me out. Gave the credentials to say, "Hey, we already knew we thought you knew what you were talking about. Now you got this. It says you do know what you're talking about." And it really helped me out and moving forward and just getting a lot of experience under me. And I've had a good career, and the Lord's blessed me.
Well, Brent definitely knows what he's talking about. He sells tens of millions of dollars worth of real estate and does real good. He does a little bit of everything. I know he's done some houses and some land and big tracts of land. He sold a couple big tracts here the last couple of years. I ran through the same thing. I used to tell Scott all the time that it was hard to overcome the youth, because when you show up on the buggy and the truck and the clients you meet, you don't have a lot of rapport in common with them. You're probably experiencing the same thing I am right now. I just started selling the big land tracts we sell. The people our age, I just started.
Yep.
And it's weird because it's way easier. You talk about what your kids are doing, what your wives are doing, what year you graduated. It's like, oh, this is way easier than it used to be.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And I remember one of the things that was always kind of made me nervous, when I was first got started. Now, shoot, man, I was still living at home, and got out of college, came back, and still living with mom and dad. And I always hoped one of my customers or clients wouldn't ask me that, because I didn't want to tell them I still live at home, mom and dad. But now, like you said, we talk about kids and wives and we
and
have
land,
land.
It's
just a lot more in common,
Well, we're going to dive into this thing. Me and Brent, we get on the phone and we talk like this and digress forever. We're going to get into this thing. Okay, so how to get your land ready for sale. So we're going to talk about the land stuff that we do, typically bigger tracts. Now, a lot of times these tracts have camps and that sort of thing, and we're going to go into that today. I kind of just wrote down some bullet points. I said this actually earlier on an Instagram post. There's a couple things that are big bangs for your buck. People, I'm sure you get the same questions as me. What are the things I need to do, and what are the things I might need to do? Grass and getting your roads in good shape. I would say, cutting the grass. You would never put your house on the market in town, not cut your grass.
Right.
Not, at least have your, you may not have the landscaping looking perfect, but it would look neat.
Right.
Neat and stuff like that. I would say those spends are probably 2 to 5 times your money. And let me quantify that. If you spend $1,000 on somebody coming out there with a bush hog for 2 days, bush hogging the grass and things like that, I would be willing to bet that's worth $5,000 to $10,000.
Oh, absolutely. I agree 100%.
And what it is I got this saying, and I probably said it on the podcast before. Most of my clients come out of Louisiana, and sometimes their husbands come. The decision maker, a mama, a lot of times is with us. And you don't want mama with limbs hitting her all in the face or bugs getting all over her in the buggy. And, it's usually, we're in the South, it's hot most of the time we're showing. You don't want to be getting stuck. You don't want to be going through any big ruts. You want a good atmosphere.
Right.
So mama has a good time. And mama, daddy, kids, everybody. And the best compliment I can get whenever I get off the buggy is mama to say, "You can buy this place, but you got to buy me a buggy like this to ride on." You've heard that before?
I've heard that before. And, just in my experience, a good road system, a good internal road system is almost a lifeblood of selling a property. I mean, people, like right now, as hot as it's been, as wet as it's been, nobody wants to get out and walk anything anymore. They want to ride it. And when they're riding it, they want to look at it, and you can't look at it when you've been over in the buggy, dodging limbs and briar. So a good interior trail system that really highlights the best features of the tracks, hardwoods, creeks, stuff like food plots. But a good trail system, in my opinion, is probably the number one most important thing about getting your property ready for sale.
And, let's define that a little bit. A good trail system. Depending on the quality of the place, if you got a place that's super up in with $1 million lodge, we would say gravel or white rock roads on a lot of your main roads. If you got your normal stuff that we sell, 100 acres with 3 food plots and a nice little camp and a pond, as long as you can get around and good, nobody wants to buy what they can't see.
Right.
You want to make, and it's our job as agents to make the experience, them make a good decision. And it's hard to make a good decision if the client doesn't see. I mean, Brenton, the worst thing an agent wants to hear is, well, I didn't see that big hole in the back. Well, I told you to walk over there and look at it. We don't want that conversation. So
right.
we want, the roads are huge. Brent and I have a lot of friends and colleagues that we can recommend to do the grass. I just got off on one that cuts a lot of grass for me. Do the roads. They've got these new limb ninjas that make it way easier so the limbs aren't slapping you and things like that. Seriously, clients, it makes such a big difference.
Huge difference. I mean, number one, you got to have a place to pull in and park and turn around. I mean, we got the trucks, we got the trailers, we got the buggies.
You don't want to be on the road.
You don't want to be parked on the road. You don't want to be, I always think about that scene in Austin Powers where you're stuck in the tunnel in the golf cart going back and forth. Yeah. Like, you don't want to do that. You want to be able to pull in there, turn around, turn out, make it easy, and then, you want to be able to access the track easily and see the best features of it. And, because people just don't want to walk.
And your food plots and
right.
If there's, I would say that, you don't have to cut every inch, but the main features, okay, if you got a creek on your place, we need to be able to get to that creek.
Right.
We need to be able to show if client, if you're saying my place is worth this because of this, we better be able to see it.
Absolutely. And, you're talking about the grass. I mean, looked at a place this morning about listing before I came here. Great trail system, roads all over, probably really too many roads, but roads all over it. But, growing up, people don't want to be getting the bugs and the whole time, the spiders and the ticks and the bugs are all flapping over, and you don't want that either. So you gotta have it looking sharp.
Especially this time of year during the summer where we've had such a wet summer and that grass gets 6 foot tall. Mm-hmm. It really makes a big difference because Brent and I both, we've got, really nice buggies, so the clients do have a good experience. But you put a client on a really nice buggy, but you still got bugs all over you. That experience, they get in a hurry. They don't want that. If that, you can have 2 identical places, and if one place that grass is cut and one place is not, it's going to be hard to sell your place where the grass isn't cut, and that's just.
I mean, you want them when you're riding them around. You want them looking at the features that help sell this property, not worried about the bugs and the spiders and the limbs that are hitting them in the face. So
that's it.
That's it.
Well, all right. This is a topic. I kind of just going down my bullet points. This is a topic I get a lot. Hey, I'm getting my place ready for sale. Do I need to build a camp? Will it make it easier for me to rent and sell? Yeah. Will you make any money on building that camp? Probably not.
Right.
The way on land stuff is different with a lot and a house. With on land stuff, the camp's what the camp's worth. Now, it may make the land easier to sell. It may make the property a little more turnkey in this market today, may make it easier to sell. But you got to realize what you build is not what everybody else necessarily would build. So, first of all, to answer that question, if you don't have a camp, don't just build a camp to sell a property.
Right.
But if you do have a camp, Brent, I'm going to let you take if you do have a camp, let's say you have a normal, let's say a double wide mobile home, or you got just a normal camp. We're not talking about a $500,000 camp, just a normal camp. What condition is too much? What's a good spin? What's a bad spin? Give me kind of a.
Man, that's always a good question, and it's a hard one to answer for me because, like you said earlier, I mean, everybody's got their own idea of what they want for a camp. The best way for me to say it is you need to have it to where, as you mentioned Mama earlier, you want Mama to be there and feel comfortable sleeping in it. It doesn't have to be the Taj Mahal, but it doesn't need to be the regular old, guys hunting camp. Now, if you don't want your wife to come and she doesn't have a say-so in it, then yeah. But, 9 times out of 10, the wife's going to be a big part of making that decision. And the camp is what she's looking at, what she's most interested in. So my advice is if you're going to build a camp, don't overdo it. I wouldn't. I mean, as far as putting a dollar number, I don't think you can. I don't think you can put a dollar number on it because there's so many other factors that come into play. I'm always, when people ask me that question, I say, look, best thing to do is get it set up and let them do what they want to do with it when they get here. Because everybody, no matter how nice a place you have, no matter how well you get it set, everybody's always going to want to put their touch on it. So I think the risk of the investment in putting a camp on something to sell it versus just having a blank canvas, so to speak, for somebody to buy that land and come and do what they want to do, that's fine. I mean, the barn dominiums are a good way to go, though. I mean, I feel like the barn dominiums are a hot item, and that's what everybody's going to. And if you're going to do a camp, I'd look into doing something like that.
And I actually built one, as Brent knows this. I built one for my home last year. That's actually, I probably need to do a podcast with Ryan Wascom on this. Just, they are getting popular. They're super easy to keep up.
And you can change them and add to them, and I mean, they're so easy to add on to
and
them.
And a little
change
cheaper
up.
construction.
Right.
So good point there. Back to the camp. Typical things, the same. This would go for your house in town too. Look, if you got mold growing on the north side of it or whatever, spray it down. Make sure that the grass is cut around it. I know how these hunting camps get when you're not there, and the ladybugs and the bugs, spiders. You want to not sell your place? Let a lady walk through a couple spider webs. I mean, just things like that, clean and nice. You don't have to spend. You don't have to spend $1,000 getting somebody to clean. Just clean, nice, and tidy. It don't have to be perfect. It just needs to be presentable. So that kind of fixes itself.
And like another point I want to make about this is I know you've seen the same thing. I can't tell you how many times I've gone to a piece of property to list it, and there's this nice custom built cabin that this guy spent a lot of money on. Thinks the world of it. But it's not exactly what somebody else wants. And he'll tell me, look, I spent $350,000 on this thing. But people that are looking to buy a big tract of land, they're putting more value on the land than they are the structures usually. So, I mean, if you spent $350,000 on it, more often than not, you may get what you want for the land, but you're going to lose money on that cabin most of the time because it was so custom. So that's why when people ask me that question, I tell them I think you're better off leaving it without it, The
only thing that I think you can maybe make a place easier to sell for a cheap thing that works, if there's like a definite campsite, like a spot where there's power or overlooking the lake, a pushed out or clipped or cleaned off campsite, I think that helps a lot of people who never done, and most people don't have a vision for this. If you put the vision, say, okay, all I got to do is run the power right there from the road and put my camp there. I can call Wade McCants and have a modular home. I mean, that helps. So
you set it up so they can visualize it,
right? And I do that on properties that I've sold because people, if you set it up where they can visualize it, it helps paint that picture a lot faster. Keep going down my list. Something that's huge, and people, this happens so often, especially this summer. Crossings. A lot of times stuff me and Brent sell, there's creek crossings or drainage or things like that. We've got to be able to see the whole place. And what you don't want is a problem that's not necessarily a problem. It's just a lack of maintenance. So I tell my clients, hey, see that culvert right there washing out? Clients go to negotiating in tens of thousands of dollars in their head. They say, it's going to cost me $10,000, $20,000 to fix that culvert. Yep. When really it may be $400 worth of gravel to fill in where it's washed out, and then it's a moot point. But we need to be able to see it and do the maintenance on things like that. As in these hilly tracts, like over I live in Wilson County, look, we know they're going to wash. It's part of that soil over there. But if you do the maintenance where it doesn't look like there's a terrible problem, it becomes a moot point. Not that we're trying to cover anything
Right.
up, but, fix what needs to be fixed. And I'm not saying spend $100,000, but, maintain the place like if you were keeping it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree 100%, Slade. I mean, a lot of these people we're showing property to, they know a little bit about it, but when it really comes to the cleanup process, the construction process, they don't know what they don't know. And part of our job is to try to
Say that again for the people in the back.
They don't know what they don't know, and we have to try to overcome those objections. And just what you said. I mean, I can't tell you how many times it's been a simple little crossing, and that I know for a fact would have probably cost $1,000 to be set up for a very long time with no problems, with a low water crossing or something like that. And they're thinking in their head, I'm gonna spend $5,000-$10,000 fixing that, and it's not. So if you can do that on the front end, and you're certainly not going to lose money by doing it, then go ahead and do it. And to the point, they have in their head it's going to cost a lot more money than it is, so you're not going to lose money.
Have you seen, Brent, because I know, it's really unique. We've been in the real estate business the exact same amount of time. The world has changed since we started. So just like I think mine and Brent's age group is extremely unique because we knew the world before internet, before smartphones, and we knew the world after. So I think that's a really unique perspective. When Brent and I first started, you had to go preview tracks.
Yeah.
Like if you're going to show something, well, I'm going to go out there tomorrow and go look at it before my clients get it. And you had tab maps. If you had an aerial, maybe the landowner had one. You got lucky. Like that was not a normal thing. That you got, I tell you what, if you had an area of a track, you didn't give it to a client. You had to keep it.
Right.
You had to keep it. Now I can get one on my phone in 2 seconds.
Man, these apps on these phones, and I use OnX and MapRight a lot, and I don't know what we did before them. I mean, used to we had the old tab maps that was just a sheet of paper, and we had to have a compass and guess where we were at, and then I forget the name of that first kind of mapping service that came out that wasn't great.
Map card.
Yeah, that was it. It was the best thing we had.
It was slow.
But it was slow, man. It was not great. The way the technology has changed in that area, it has really changed the business for us. I mean, a good map helps sell a place too.
Right. And so that's one thing I always try to provide. I try to provide anything I can get, different year aerials and topos, and I got OnX pulled up here in front of me. I'm a huge OnX fan. I'm a huge fan of tracking everywhere I go so I can show the client where we went.
And then you can share those with other agents, And I mean, no matter how experienced they are or not, but especially those that aren't quite as experienced with showing land or whatever, we can send them those files. They can have that app, and they can retrace our steps, and we know they'll see everything that we need them to see,
And to that point, clients, if you have information on OnX or map on any of these apps, Hunt Stand, any of that, like, hey, deer like to move this stuff. Clients eat that stuff up. They love it. They love a proven history of what's working. Like, oh, he's got this feeder here because this is sanctuary and this is a bedding area, or you name it. That kind of stuff. The painted picture really makes a difference. And where I was going with how long we've been in the business and things is, I've noticed here in the last couple of years, the world is faster. I mean, that's a no-brainer. Everybody we want it here, we want it now. With that being said, the more turnkey it is, man, it makes it easy to sell because people are busy. People are playing more people who are buying land they got grandkids or kids playing more ball games, more sports. They're busier at work. Their client, just like we're busy with our work and on demand, they are too. So just like I had a client the other day, and sometimes, and Brent knows this, and I knew Ryan's learned this, you have to show a client 3 or 4 properties before you found that. They don't know what they don't know. They don't know what they really want. I finally had to tell a client the other day, which we're closing here in a couple of weeks on a track. I said, listen, I've listened to you. You do not need a project. You don't have time. You can't even hardly get time to come look at property. When are you going to get time to come put in these roads and food plots and camps? And he finally said, you're absolutely right. I said, pay a little more. Let's get something a little more turnkey, and then you can put your little touch with your little bit of time you got. Yep. And I've noticed I guess people used to the turnkey aspect wasn't quite as popular, I think, when we first started as it is now.
Oh man, no doubt. I did a interview with Ernest Herndon the other day at the office, and one of the questions he asked me is like, obviously the market's been good. Everybody's seen it, here in the past year and a half. He's like, but like as far as the land goes, like what are you seeing being the most desirable sales, and what's bringing the most money? I mean, it's hands down turnkey tracks. I mean, everything's up a little bit, but I feel like the land side of it, the pricing we've seen has been a little bit more track specific, so to speak, and those are those turnkey tracks. I mean, when you can say, here's the check, here's the keys, go enjoy yourself.
Load you, go and plant your
I'm
plots.
still saying I mean, it's going to sell for more money, and it's still going to sell quicker.
All right, I'm going to digress real quick because I heard him say something, and I'm so interested in his opinion on this topic because I'm diving into this topic, I think, more than anybody else. Did you listen to the appraisal podcast the other day with Landon?
I had not get a chance to do that yet.
It's a really good one. Okay. 5 years ago, 1,000,000%. And look, me and Brent talk dirt values and stuff all the time, but 5 years ago, I used to say, okay, dirt's worth this and timber's worth this. And that's how you came up with your value. I am leaning towards a hybrid. And let me say where I'm at on that. It's getting where more and more it's not dirt and timber. It's nice tracks sell for this and bad tracks sell for this. And the reason I say that is I've got some dirt comps in Wilson County for big stuff, 3,600 an acre, and it's not arguable anymore. You can look it up on the MLS.
You and I have had many conversations about that.
Yeah, and so you have to you say, okay, well, what's the difference in the dirt value? This dirt value is 2,500, and this dirt value is 3,500, and it's pointing. This is what me and Landon were talking about. It's pointing more and more towards good tracks in high recreation areas, Wilson County.
That's the key word, recreational.
Yeah, it's less because it's becoming so much more of a recreational environment and so much less. It's still a good investment because the dirt values are growing so high. It's like good tracks, just how much they sell for.
Yep.
Because if I ask you this, I'm going to lead you into it, then I'm going to let you talk. If I said, Brent, that timber's all right. It's on the Amet River, up there in Thompson. Pretty nice track. I mean, first number you're thinking in your head is I could probably get $3,500 an acre for it. And you ain't even heard what the timber is. I said it was decent. Yep. You said because that's what good stuff sells for. How do we quantify that? How do you get an appraisal on that? I don't know.
That's a great question. And in that interview I mentioned earlier with Ernest, that was another thing that came up. And I tell this to clients all the time when they're asking what stuff's worth, And used to, for years, it was like the timber's worth this, the dirt's worth this. There was no value whatsoever put on the recreational aspect of it. But over the, just in our career, I mean, and I'm gonna say probably more. We've both been 15 years now, so maybe in the past 12 years is when we've really seen it start going that direction. Is there's a recreational value out there that you really don't know how to put a number on. I mean, you can, but it's kind of a guess. It's really in the eye of the holder. I mean, what are they wanting a good deer hunting track, or they wanting more of a turkey hunting track, which a lot of those things go hand in hand, but that recreational value has really made all the difference in the world. So when you hear about the dirt value was this and the timber was this, well, if it's a high dirt value, that's going to be because of that. There's value being added in there because of the recreational side of it. Mm-hmm. And that's what's selling, man. I mean, everybody wants to go out and have a good time and enjoy and play and you, that's year round,
Right.
I mean,
it's almost I've been describing it like this because I'm trying to wrap my head around. New Ryan knows this. I want every piece of real estate. I'm trying to absorb education on it, and I'm creating, trying to create education. What we're doing right now, but I'm trying to wrap my head around this area is being treated more like 30A or Orange Beach, Perdido, Pensacola, you name it, or because those clients buy here. It's the same group, and those same clients have places in Venice and Grand Isle for fishing. It's the same clients, and so we know that land on this street in 30A sells for more just because that's where everybody wants to be. Amet, Wilson County, some other areas we sell in Claiborne County, stuff like that. It sells for more because that's where people want to be, and it's more like a vacation market. And what I'm getting at is, so all day, every day, the way somebody was able to buy a $500,000 or a $2 million house at 38 is he was calculating every cent and every dollar, and one day he was able to afford that. But that didn't make a whole lot of sense when he bought that. He had to throw his investment cap, he had to take it off just a little bit, and it's becoming more like that here. Now, in 5 years, his investment down there, he could probably get his money back, maybe make a little money, and that is exactly what's happening here.
Yep, I agree.
We're digressing off of how to sell your property, but I wanted Brent's take on that. But he sounds like he's agreeing with me. All right, we're going to get back to how to sell your property. Something that I think is, huge is I wrote down here, deer pics, new and old. Let me tell you. And look, I do not take pictures from anywhere else and put them. I mean, if you don't see deer pictures on the listing I got, either they didn't have any good deer pictures, but most of all, I didn't have any. Like some people just aren't into cameras, and we put cameras up on our own listings sometimes just to get them. You get a place with social media and the internet the way it is now, you get a place that has really good deer, turkey pictures, new and old. So if like right now we're in August, you get some that's got 8.5 on there, they're happening right now. Well, a client can say, I can close on that thing before bow season, and I can be hunting that deer right there. That is huge. Or like February, March of last year, so they know those deer made it. Oh, and history is good too. Hey, in 2014 they had giants, so it's a history thing. So that makes a big difference. If you're thinking, hey, in a couple of years I'm going to sell my property or I'm going to upgrade or whatever, and I want to be a good steward, make a log of these pictures. I think it's a great idea to do one of these those books all our wives make for vacations and stuff like that. You do that and have it sitting on the coffee table of a camp, and they say, God, no, they kill big deer, turkeys every year, catch fish every year on this place.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, it makes a big difference. I mean, I can't tell you how many times that I've talked to a client said, look, if you've got any deer pictures, send them to me. And they don't. I mean, they'll have a few, but they just really weren't into cameras or. A lot of times, like, they may have a really good hunting place, but they really don't know how to hunt.
or they don't know how to take good pictures. Exactly. Or they take pictures with their cell phone or the screen, and I can't hardly use it.
Yeah, I mean, I get that all the time. And then, I'll go out there and put some cameras up and try to get some pictures and every now and then. But, it seems like every time that's happened to me here lately, it's one of those deals where they call me during the summer and deer don't have any rats.
Yeah.
But that makes a huge difference, because if they're not on there and the client calls, and you're more focused on the hunting side of them. I mean, you're a hunting land man. I mean, that's what you're doing. You're doing a great job with it. I don't get asked those questions quite as often because I'm not just sitting there specializing in that, but it definitely makes a difference. And if I don't have pictures and it's something that it could be a potentially good hunting track. Those clients are going to ask me, what kind of deer they have. Well, the best way to show them, I mean, you can tell them all day long, but until you get that proof, I mean, they don't know you, they may or may not believe you. And then, of course, when you show them the pictures, they usually, well, you sure this is where this came from? But, we wouldn't do that. But
And I guarantee you there's people that do. But, yeah, I think it makes a big difference. And the difference it is, and look, I'm not trying to get into Instagram and Facebook algorithms, but this is the real difference. You got a couple good deer pictures. People share it. Man, I'd love to have this. The right person sees it. Your place sells.
Yep.
That's what happens.
No question.
I mean, if I see a property in Claiborne County and I look over and it's 2 or 3 deer over 150, I very well may have scrolled past until I saw. Let me look. What's going on here?
Yeah, I mean, you talk about curb appeal with a residential home. The curb appeal on the land could be lots of things, and one of them is the pictures online. And nothing grabs their attention more than a big buck or strutting turkey,
That's right. A lot of turkey
or
pictures.
Ducks. Dead ducks.
Ducks. Big stringers of ducks and big, lanyards of ducks, whatever you call it. What do you call it?
Lanyard.
Yeah, lanyard. What do you when you lanyard? Lanyards of ducks on a string makes a big difference because that's history of what, and of course turkeys, things like that. I think big if it's a recreational property like we're talking about. Deer history. Hey, we've been shooting 4-year-olds and older, and these are our body weights. We've done these things to increase. All that kind of stuff, that makes a big difference. Deer sightings. I tell you what, we take that for granted, but how many deer you think I'll see in these food plots? You know, I can guess a lot of times, but, you know, if you, like I had a client the other day say, how many deer do you think I see in these food plots? And I showed him some picture out the stand window that the client sent me, and it was like a 13 deer. And I said, well, you can see at least 13.
Exactly, you know, and I mean, they ask that question all the time, and I mean, most of these tracks, you know, I'm not hunting these tracks. I'm going off what these people are telling me, you know, and like I said, I think 99.9% of the time the folks are being honest with us, you know. That kind of reminds me of a funny story. I was showing a track years ago. It was a big track, and it had a nice big gravel road system through it. We were riding in the truck looking at it, and the guy was riding through, and he says, this place got any deer on it? I said, yeah, man, it's got a lot of deer on it. Next curve we turn, it's like 8 deer running across the road, a couple of them, you know, some good, as y'all call them, big rack bucks, you know. And he kind of looked at me funny, and I was like, man, that was perfect timing, wasn't it? And so we go on a little bit further. He said, is there any turkeys out here? And I said, yeah, man, there should be a lot of turkeys there. It's a good habitat for them, you know. I know a few guys that hunt, you know, like over there, and I know they've killed a lot of turkeys, you know. I was like, so yeah, there should be some turkeys out here. Next curve we turn the road, 5 longbeards running down the road.
Good Lord.
And he looked at me kind of funny. I was like, man, I said, that's just good timing, wasn't it? So he said to you, I could tell his wheels were really spinning. He's like, I got to think of something to ask him if it's out here that's just like
Any
really
Bigfoots
rare, you know? And so he says, what about quail? I know quail kind of have gone away in the years, you know. He said, but this place, you think it's got any quail on it? I said, well, you know, it's got a lot of turkey habitat. You know, probably help out the quail too. Literally, man, the next curve, there's like a big, huge covey of quail in the road. He looks at me, he's like, oh, my gosh. He goes, I don't know who you get out there listening in this truck and turning this stuff out. He goes, but you ain't paying enough. I want it. You know, lucky me.
Scott Lindsay, before I worked over here, showed a track that I bought from you at 318 in Wilson County. And I told him where all my cameras were. And, of course, Scott, with the client, goes and checks. He said, you seen all these big deer on these cameras? I said, yeah, put the cards back in there and get out of there. He didn't sell it. I ended up selling it. But,
that's funny.
But stuff like that really makes a big difference. We barely mention ponds and stuff. You know, if you have a pond on it, you have big stringers of fish, and with the recreation in mind, you know, if you have any pictures of you and your family riding horses, finding sheds, picking mushrooms, creeks, you know, playing in the creek, the family down at the creek riding four-wheelers. Whenever all that stuff, give us that stuff, if you don't mind us using it, of course. Give us that stuff because it paints oh my gosh, I'd love to bring my family out here for July 4th on that creek and the kids get stuck on a four-wheeler.
Exactly.
I didn't even think about that.
Like, that looks fun. I want to do that. Let's make the deal happen.
It would be no difference than if you had your place for sale on Orange Beach and you had a bunch of flounder yard gigged out there. Same kind of deal. You know, it just opens their eyes to other things they can do here. So, you know, you follow a pattern what we're talking about as far as making the place appeal. Now, I wish this happened on all of them. Most of them, you know, hey, here's the tract of land. I think this is the combination. If you can't get a key, you know, you'll figure out a way to get in. And the place, you know, that doesn't always happen, especially during the summer. You know, most people are just thinking about maybe going to clip and bush hog and stuff like that. You know, places are way easier to sell in October, November when they're pretty and green food plots and stuff like that. Speaking of that, that's a good topic, how to get your place ready to start. When is the best time to sell? I'm going to answer this for Brent. In the last 2 years, right now, just any time. And just get it on the market, we'll sell it.
No question.
History, in our 15-year history, I'm going to let you answer first because I've got my answer in my head. I want to say, okay, when would you put your property online, or what's your dates you like?
In normal market conditions, let's go with seasons: spring, fall. And as far as dates go, maybe about the second week of March. As far as spring goes, and it's probably ideal. And then fall, you know, you don't want to start too late because you want to give plenty of time for them to get out there and get it ready for bow season or whatever. But you know, when I say fall, I may want to back it up a little bit and say end of August, 1st of September, somewhere along in there.
Coming up, we need listings.
and then get on a little further down the road, because I mean, like right now, I got a lot of people calling, and there's a lot of people looking at stuff, but you know, this market's different right now. This is a good market, you know. So like you said, right now, but historically during the summer, you know, everybody's out of school, they're going on vacations, it's hot. they don't, people aren't really keeping their places up as much during the summer,
Playing baseball,
you got
soccer, vacation.
Yeah, you got so much going on. So, I mean, summer is usually not a good time. Then you get into the winter, people are usually hunting their places. They don't want to sell it in the middle of hunting season, or they're leasing it and they hate to do that to their lessee or whatever.
But then, how do I know they're not going to shoot all the deer before I close on it?
Exactly. But then you got, you got Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, and things usually kind of slow down and run in that time, with the holidays going on. But I've had some really great Decembers and Januaries over the years, I mean, and a lot of that is like people look, I've been in this club forever, and I am so sick of this club, and can't take my family out there and enjoy myself without, this or that going on I disagree with. I just want to place them all, and I'll buy it right now. I mean, I've had a lot of sales over the years with that.
Yeah, I would agree. I think my answer was going to be maybe late August to September 1st. And really,
and you, Ryan, didn't I say that? Isn't
yeah.
that the date I gave?
Well,
okay.
I was just making sure the same thing.
I thought he was changing it a little bit.
No, I really like, and look, during hunting season, we still sell a lot then. Right around Christmas holidays is usually tough. I would say if the best is September and October, and then February and March, if I had to pick the best.
Yep.
If I had to pick the worst months, June, July.
Yep.
And for those reasons, hot, people are fishing.
Yep.
People are vacationing, doing stuff with the wife. They aren't thinking about hunting. What happens? You got to look at the world we live in. A lot of our clients come out of Louisiana, or they work whatever job they work, and what happens is they tell their buddy, "Hey, I'm going let's say right now. Hey man, let's go play golf this weekend. Let's go fishing. Man, I'm going to hunting camp. It's about that time. Got to get ready."
Yep.
And so that client sitting in that office or on the phone or whatever says, "God, dog, I got to get me a place." That night they get on
Yep.
you get on Land Watch, and they go to looking at property, and that's how it starts. So, their buddy, their product of what their buddies are doing, and oh man, I got to get me a place. It's just no different if somebody says, in the spring, I don't play golf, but if somebody says, man, yeah, we're going to play golf this weekend, I got to join the club. I got to get me some clubs. I got to go hit some balls. Right. It's the same thing. I mean, I'm guilty, as soon as the spring hits, I got to get me some new baits, go catch me some fish, it's the same thing. So,
Yep.
So that's a timing thing. I'm just keep going down this list. Land history, is, I'm kind of going from top to bottom. Land history, as far as like who owned the land before you. People are interested in that.
Yeah.
This was my grandpa's land. I know who had it. I sold a property last year. It was 1,800 acres. It was a grant from George Washington to his personal surgeon. To
Wow.
this guy in Wilson County. So that's how long it had been in that family.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, so pretty cool. But land history, people are interested in that. Who owned it? How long you own it? Why are you selling? You better have a good answer.
Oh yeah.
That's actually probably comes up more often than not.
Why are you selling is a big question we get. And like I said, when it comes to the timber side of it, if it's a timber investment type tract. Certainly the hunting side, they want to know, what have they been shooting, what are they not shooting, what kind of rules they're going by, how's what kind of trees did they plant, what have they done any burning, how have they managed it, all that comes into play, and makes a difference. So it's good to keep up with the history.
Something we didn't, and you just made me think about it. I get this all the time. I'm gonna let you answer this. Brent, you think I ought to put a pond on my place before I sell it?
Yeah, I get that a lot.
He said, yeah, I get that a lot. Like, yeah, not do it. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it just depends on the place, man. Like, I mean, there's a big difference. I mean, when it comes to building a pond, soil is everything. So you don't just go out there and build a pond if you know it's not going to work.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't just, and sometimes you do just need to go play in the dirt and find out, because I've had these guys come out here from the
NRC.
and go down there a little 2 or 3 feet and say it's going to work and not work, and it's not going to work and it work, or I've had to be right too, but it kind of comes down to the cost of it, what you're trying to do. So I mean, number one is the soil. Number two, when you're getting ready to build a pond, and where you spend that money is on how high and how long that levee is going to be. So if you've got a great spot with good soil that it's not going to cost $30,000 to build a levee there, then do it. You know, if
and we're talking, $30,000 maybe on a 100-acre tract. If it's only
Right.
30,000 and it's on a 1,000-acre tract,
right,
we may be
exactly. So I mean, it's just everybody always asks me, well, what's land? What's the average price of land? Man, you can't really answer that in my opinion. I mean,
It's
you
like
can,
how much the cars cost.
Yeah, I mean, you can give them an answer, but I mean, there are so many factors that come into play in determining that, and you really got to look at the track and see the features and I mean, because the location, is a big thing. In every real estate school I've ever been to, is location, location, location. I mean, that's huge. How can you use it? How many different uses can you have of it? What's the timber? What's the the recreational side of it? So there's a lot of factors that come into play. And so kind of my general answer, is like, well, okay, let's just assume it's worth $3,200 an acre, and we'll work up or down from there based on, multiple different factors. Water is a big thing. I mean, water sells.
It does.
So, I mean, I can't say I've never recommended them do it. I mean, there's been places I said, look, this would be a great big pond site. You don't really have that get good soil here. The levee really doesn't have to be that long, and it's got, so much watershed coming to it. It'll hold. And, you could spend $25,000 on building that pond or building that lake, and, you're probably gonna double that in value, So, I mean, it just comes down. If the value's there, then do it. If it's not, don't,
Right. I think my answer would be for the most part, no, and that's erring on the side of caution.
Right.
But I got a property that I'm going to be selling that I personally own here in a couple of years, and I'm seriously thinking about it because it's one of those spots where I can build about a 4-acre pond and not put a whole lot of money into it. It's a relatively bigger tract, so I'm thinking about doing it. So every tract is specific, but we do get that question a lot.
Yep.
I'm going to keep working down these things. We're getting more in the legal side of things on my next bullet points. Brent mentioned maps earlier. If you've got a survey of a place, we like to take care of stuff that when Brent and I go to a listing appointment, if there's things that we know are going to be an issue whenever we get ready to sell, we like to, we like to take care of those things. Like if you don't know your acreage, or if there's a big discrepancy of what we're digitizing and what you think you own, we may need to look into getting a survey or clearing some things up, because you may argue with Brent and I, well, we can only go off what we can go off of. But believe me, if we tell you they're going to come up, they're probably going to come up.
Right.
The attorney's going to say something. For instance, these days, most of the clients have the apps. If they click on Onyx and they say, this tract says 160 acre, but you advertise in 210, where's the extra?
Mm-hmm.
There needs to be an answer for that.
Yep.
And you need to justify your answer, because believe me, they'll believe this darn app and their phone before they believe you.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I know the survey says this, but my app says this. The apps go off of what the county records are, and in our counties, a lot of times they're wrong. A lot of times. Or it hadn't been updated.
But the bottom line is this. You can only sell what your deed says you have. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter what your tax records say it is. I don't care how many acres you've been paying taxes on for the past 50 years. If you've been paying taxes on 160 and your deed calls for 140, then you can only sell it as 140. Mm-hmm. If you think there's discrepancy, let's survey it. And look, man, everybody asks me, surveys are expensive for the most part, and a lot of people don't want to spend that money. But it's money well spent most of the time. I mean, I tell them this, like, it is in your best interest to survey it if we don't already have one. I was like, that way you get what you're paying for, and if there's any issues, we find out, we get it worked out now, and doesn't come up down the road later. I don't care if you survey it or not most of the time. It's up to you. It's your money. You do what you want to do, but it's in your best interest to do it. And if anybody ever asks me, I got a note in my file saying, I told you to survey it, Right. And a lot of people just don't do that. And there's been tracks that I've seen that, like, clear where the boundaries are, acreage and all is lining up with the tax records, the deed and all that. And, I'm not going to push that, but I'm still going to tell them to survey it,
Right.
But that's not something I just really, push hard.
And everybody's thinking, listen to this podcast, or what's a survey cost? About like building a pond or a house. Who knows?
Yeah, don't even. People ask all the time.
A lot.
What's that going to cost? I'm like, look, it's not cheap. And there's so much that goes into a survey, that the
topography, history,
the average person just doesn't. They think that hey, you're just gonna go out there and mark those corners and tell me like. I mean, there's a lot of research that goes into it. There's a lot of issues that could come up, that like on the ground look fine, but when you really get to digging, you realize you got a problem you didn't know you had. And it's up for that survey to figure out. Like he can look at a map a lot of time and look at these tax boundaries and say, hey, look, it looks like we might have a problem over here, and I didn't see that on the map, or the client didn't see that on the map. So, I don't quote them. I give them some numbers, and one of my go-tos is Hunter Newman and Ross Morgan.
Hunter's good, man. I give them Hunter Newman, and I give them Bruce, of course, and there's a couple of others, Talbot and Wilson County. The thing about it is, and look, people, if you do have to get a survey, if you can get one done within a month right now, that's a win.
Oh, yeah.
If the market's busy, surveyors are busy, attorneys are busy, everybody, it's agents are busy. Like, my agent don't ever answer the phone. Well, give him a couple of hours because he may be showing a track. Something like that. I try to do everything I can, but if I'm showing you your track, I'm going to give you my undivided attention. Unless it's an emergency,
right? I'm
not going to answer the phone. Now, my wife calls 3 times. You won't have to wait.
Exactly.
Because she knows the game too. But surveys are definitely, if you think you have an issue, we need to take care of that on the front end. Title work. Okay. Just because, and I'm not going to play the attorney hat, but I know just enough about this to get me in trouble. So I'm going to refer to you to attorney, but I'm going to give you a little bit. Just because your daddy died and left it to you, that doesn't necessarily mean you can sell it tomorrow. They didn't probate his will. If the will, there's a lot of things, and I'm not trying to get legal with this, but if there's you need to tell your agent or us, or you need to have a conversation with the attorney we plan to close it with, or that did the estate, hey, is this property ready to sell? Or, has there been a title issue in the past, somebody who thinks this stuff is going to come up. The boogeyman's coming out the closet. Let's get it out there and let's kill him before he eats somebody. Right. I bet you never heard that before, huh? Right? But yeah. So if there is an issue, title work, go ahead and get it taken care of. That way, if you get your property under contract, and some guy may say, "I don't want to fool with this. You got a title issue. I'm ready to buy a piece of property." We don't want that to happen.
Well, one of the things that I am super proud of, as far as my company goes, as well as I know a lot of other agents are like this. You're certainly one of them. But one of the things I pride myself in is when I get you an offer that you accept, there's about a 99.9% chance that that's going to close. Because, a listing, in my opinion, is a liability until you can turn it into a sale that will close. As long as that sign sits out there with my name on it, and it doesn't sell, it looks bad on me. And everybody thinks we price them anyway, Right. And there's a lot of listings I don't take because they wouldn't let me try. They wouldn't listen to me, But it's
getting hard to do that right now.
I want to know that whenever that contract is fully signed and we're headed to closing, that everything that we could have possibly done to not have any surprises, to delay a closing, to make a closing fall through, all those I's are dotted, all those T's are crossed, and this thing's going to close. And I have been that way my whole career, and and all the agents that I've worked with or trained or whatever over the years are like that now. Like when we get you when you sign that thing, accepting it, there's a very slim chance it's not going to close because we already asked all these questions up front. We asked the questions about the title, and I have to tell some clients every now and then that at first, maybe not know me or whatever. They interview me like they don't really want to tell me everything. Like they're trying to hide something. I'm like, look, the more you let me know, the better I can help you in the long run. And we're the same way with the buyers. Everybody needs to have their. If you want to go buy something, now it's not as much with land as you see with residential houses. We don't want to list a house that a client doesn't tell us, hey, look, we only want pre-approved buyers,
Right.
looking at the house. Land's a little bit different because you got a different type person, buying those most of the time. And
look, Brent and I don't want to waste our time. We're pre-approved before you know it.
Exactly, and so you don't want to be, sitting at your house on Saturday afternoon, spending time with your kids, and somebody call and say, hey, we want to see this place. Being available is a big part of our job. We got to prioritize, our time with our family and all, because that's more important than going and selling that land. But I don't want to go out there and waste my time, or your time either, So we ask those questions of those buyers. Have you talked to them? Are you paying cash? Or are you financing? If you're financing, have you talked to them? Are you pre-approved? If you don't, hey, we'll hook you up with somebody to get you to talk to. And then so we do all that due diligence on the front end to where all that's out of the way, and this thing's going to close. You know, I mean, every now and then you might have a little something pop up in the title work, you know, that you didn't expect or didn't know about.
Out of your control.
That's
right.
out of our control. But man, when you sign that contract, it's going to close 99.9% of the time.
And right, and so if you ever get around myself or Brent or any other good agent, you know, it seems like, God, he's taking a long time to do anything. He's asking all these questions. It's because, and we're not picking on you when you know you're a business professional. Well, this is what we do. We're professionals. We didn't just get our license. I mean, New Ryan will tell you this. He just got his license not long ago. There's things he doesn't know. And it's scary sometimes that there's people out, you know, so we make sure we're seasoned now. And we know that the right questions to ask. So when we do get and I would bet more often than not, the ones that me and you haven't closed that we had contracted, stuff out of our control, or we represented the buyer and then the selling agent. I had one fall apart at a closing last year. When we got there, there was 26 acres of a 221 acre tract that was not owned by his client. Didn't know it till the attorney whipped out the survey that he found in the courthouse and showed us.
Wow.
Even pulled it up on the client's website, said, how was I supposed to know? This is what he sent me. You know, and we're not attorneys. It's the first thing that the guys at the Real Estate Commission tell us. You're not an attorney, don't act like one.
Right.
So all legal stuff we refer to a client, but we do have to know just enough to get us in trouble.
But let me that brings me to a point. If your agent is not asking you these questions up front, you don't need to use that agent.
And the agent that doesn't ask you these questions up front, that says, hey, yeah, man, I'll do it at such and such percent, and maybe it's cheaper than me or Brent will do it. There's a reason for that. You want to provide a better service. I think it's so funny that the same people that drive up in a Ford Platinum and their wife drives a BMW wants the cheapest on commission. It's like you had value, you saw value, and then but you don't. You know, it's funny.
You get what you pay for.
Amen.
And that's with everything.
No, I can get off on a real big tangent on that, but on the next is, of course, on title work. Is there any liens? You know, does anybody need to be paid? How much do you owe the bank? Have you talked to the bank about do you owe more than it's worth? You know, these are conversations, and that's where Brent and I will ask the question, and then you have a personal. We're not trying to get in your business, family business, but if Uncle Joe has a lien on this thing, or there's a plumber who has a lien, and y'all got in a dispute, or there's the co-op who has a lien on the place, or there's another mortgage out there, need to get those things in line. I'm not saying you have to pay them off. Right. I'm saying that we got to make sure that if we sell it for $100,000, that everybody, including us, gets taken care of. Yep. Those are just the type of questions that we have to ask in order to make sure we're doing our job well. And, you know, there's a difference between hiring an agent and hiring a professional. And Brent and myself both try to be professionals. So,
and tax liability is another one.
Right.
Really
What do you owe on the taxes? Have you not been? I had a property I sold the other day. There was a mistake on the garbage bill. Like, they didn't pick up garbage, but there was still $441 at the closing. We got it taken care of, but it's one of them things.
Yeah. But, I mean, a lot of people don't realize, hey, you know, I may have to pay a lot of taxes on this place if I sell it. They don't think about that, you know, and that stuff you got to ask them up front so you can, the more we know, the better we can help you. And and the same thing with a buyer. You know, when a buyer calls me and they're like, look, we want to buy some land. All right, well, how many acres do you want? 50 to 100 acres or 400 acres or whatever it is. You know, and I ask them all these questions like, what do you want to do with it? Like, are you trying to deer hunt? Are you trying to turkey hunt? I mean, are you want to grow timber? I mean, you just want an all-around recreational place? I mean, what do you want? You know, and the more you can tell me, the more I can weed out the stuff that we're going to be wasting our time with, you know. But one of the biggest questions I always ask is, what kind of budget you trying to stick in? All right, well, they don't like telling you that a lot of times. It's like they think if they give you a number, then you're automatically going to go find the most expensive place. That's not why we're asking that. Now,
I mean, the land, you couldn't do that anyway, hardly.
I mean, I asked them a question like, you just told me what you wanted. If I find a place that you just painted the picture of, like couldn't have been any closer to what you just named, you absolutely positively are not going to pay over X number of dollars for it. And I'm not asking you that so I can go find the most expensive thing for you. But, you know, if you tell me, you know, $500,000, but that perfect place is at 600, you know, and you're
still going to send it to you unless you make that call.
Like you don't want to cut you don't want to cut that when you're searching, you don't want to cut that too short and miss that place, you know. So,
and all that what Brent just said brought up another topic. When we get your land ready for sale, make sure you listen to your agent about pricing. In today's market rust is even worse thing than it's ever been because information is out there. You know, listings don't go away. I guarantee you I can go find almost every listing I've had in my career that's been online somewhere. It's like, because we don't control all the sites. We control the ones we control. And that listing, well, I saw you had it $100,000. There must be something wrong with that property. I mean, so price your property right. Listing your property for a less amount may actually get you more money in the long run.
It will.
So let me say that again. Listing your property for a less amount may get you more money in the long run. You know, I heard it a million times. We can always come down. Yeah, a lot of people cannot come look too. You know, it's
that's where I go back to listing being liability. You know, I mean, you know, and the market rust you're talking about is a real thing, man. I mean, it could be the best.
It's getting
property.
worse.
It could be the best property in the world, and you could just overprice it so dramatically that nobody wants to look at it. And man, I'm not interested in listing stuff like that. You know, I'm just not, and for multiple reasons. But I want to be about that third guy you call.
Right.
You know.
And what he means by that is if I list it too high and then in 6 months it goes up and Brent gets and then gets right. But even with that said,
I don't know. I don't know if you explained that just right just then. So if you're gonna list it with one agent that's gonna list it for, you know, $100,000 over what it's gonna sell for, then you're gonna leave it out there 6 months to a year. It's not gonna sell. It's gonna get stale. Nobody's gonna want it. They're gonna think something's wrong with it. And then you're going to get mad at that person that listed it for $100,000 over what it should have been, and then you're not going to work with them anymore. You're going to go around town bad-mouthing them. You're going to call the next guy. And if you don't listen to the next guy, the same thing's going to happen. And a lot of times it takes about that third try, you know, to finally say, you know what, I had it overpriced. This is what's going to happen, and they'll listen to you. So, I mean, I want to be the first guy they call. Let me get that right.
Right.
But in a situation like that, I want to be number 2 and number 3 because then they might be a little more realistic.
And let me tell you, if you are, it don't matter how good a marketing I do or Brent does or any company does, if they are the third person, you hurt yourself.
Yep.
It's not a new listing when we get it. It may be new to us, but the world still knows about it.
Yep.
And it hurts. So you like we said, you may end up taking less. So price it right in the beginning. Get a market excitement. It's gonna bring, if the agent's doing a good job, it's gonna bring the most value when priced correctly. I had a property that I sold the other day that another agent had way overpriced at one time and ended up selling it. And I think it sold for less than what it could have if it had been just priced right. Nobody wanted to look at it. Oh, yeah, that property. We learn from our clients. Yep. And the clients say, oh, yeah, that property's been for sale. Well, it must be something wrong with it. Or I don't want to go look at that. And they say, they get in their head, if I buy this, I don't care at what price. Everybody else turned it down. I must not be seeing what's wrong with it.
Yeah, the pricing is really, we've talked about roads, we've talked about, you know, all kinds of stuff today, Slade. But at the end of the day, it really comes down to price. That's really the biggest part of it. And pricing it competitively is where you want to be. You know, and like I ask people, you know, what's more important to you? Getting the most money for it, selling it in the quickest amount of time, or just knowing that you didn't price it too cheap, whatever, you know, and there's 3 different levels there, you know. I mean, if you want to get the most amount of money and don't care how much time it is, well, let's list it a little higher. And if it doesn't sell, you know, let's give it 30 days, 60 days. We're not getting a lot of showings, whatever. Then we'll know it's the price, and we can come down a little bit. But you don't want to leave it out there too long. You know, if you just want to, you know, you just want to sell it, and you want to get the most money you can in the quickest amount of time, then you price it competitively. And if you need to fire sell it, then, you know, of course you sell it cheap. But, you know, how often we have somebody tell us, I just want to get rid of it. Not very often.
Been very few. But, yeah, pricing is the biggest thing because you can offset everything we talked about with a really cheap price.
Exactly.
You know, hey, if it's Wilkes County, the grass is growing up, the roads suck, the deer pictures suck, and it doesn't have a survey. Guess what? At $1,500 an acre and it's got road fronts, we can probably sell it.
Exactly.
You know,
I mean, that's really what it comes down to, and it's worth as much as anybody give you for it. You know.
Well, Brent, we're getting, as Brent and I always do, where our conversations go a long time. I'm gonna. I don't know if you've listened to many of the podcasts, but I always ask everybody one question. I think you can learn a lot about somebody and things like that. All right, Brent, tomorrow, you and Lenny are coming home from New Orleans. Y'all went on a date, and you stop at a truck stop, and you say, you know what, the lottery's $100 million. You win $100 million. Net to you get $100 million. What you doing? Where you buying land and why?
I don't want to buy all the land. I just want what joins me. Mm-hmm. Look, I mean, that's
in Amite County.
That's a hard question. I mean, I love Amite County. I love Southwest Mississippi, and I want to own property here. I knew it's just a good place to buy land. Putting your money in land is there could be some cash flow issues at time or whatever. But at the same time, you can't go wrong buying land, period. Historically, it's going to go up in value. I mean, look what it's done in the 15 years you and I have been in the business.
Right.
But, I mean, of course, I want to buy land here. But if it comes down to, like, just all around.
You got $100 million, so, I mean.
Yeah, I would probably have several. I mean, one of the things I've always said is as great as it is down here, and the hunting's good, and all that kind of stuff. We within an hour and a half from basically anywhere you want to do anything you want to do. But I always love the Midwest. Mm-hmm. Bigger turkeys, bigger deer, more of them. And I mean, I really like Southeast Kansas. I mean, you got ducks, you got deer, you got turkeys. I haven't done a whole lot of hunting, across the nation. I mean, like y'all have done. But I love out west, Montana. I visited Jackson Hole several years back. I absolutely fell in love with it out there. I got some good friends in Tennessee, kind of at the foothills of the Smokies.
There's some good turkey hunting in there.
Yeah, Madisonville, Tennessee is where this guy's at. Doug McKenzie, you probably know Mr. Doug. He does a trapping at Longleaf. Yeah. I really like it up there where he's at, So hunting-wise, climate-wise, probably Midwest is best, in my opinion.
So
and I definitely have
Kansas.
something right there. I really like South. Now, I know the winters are pretty tough up there. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, I don't know.
You got $50 million worth of property down here, though, so you can come back.
And I figure, my wife's probably going to want something on the beach. Mm-hmm. So I hate the beach. I'm not a beach guy. I mean, beaches for skinny people. You know what I mean? And I'm obviously not skinny. I don't like being hot. I don't like sand. I don't know how you can relax on the beach, man. I mean, you sit there, you're hot. I don't care how much wind's blowing. I don't care how those waves are crashing. There's lots of strangers walking around you, and you can't take a nap like that. I can't do it, So anyway, but I'm sure, my girls are going to want something on the beach somewhere, so something like that, But $100 million, man,
You can buy a pretty nice place on the beach and still buy some land.
You could, but I mean, I'd have it all. But I mean, I think really, if I had that kind of money, probably one of the things I'd really want to do most with it, just being completely honest with you, is I want to buy a big place and set up some kind of like special needs kids type situation. And I know you've done some of that in the past. We've done some of that in the past. But like, man, I think that's what it's all about. And I would
let somebody else benefit from what you did.
I would love, like I do a little bit at the house now, just letting some kids, but I'm not set up. I don't have, good enough place for that. I'm working on it, but I would love to have a place, that's in an area like that with good deer, good duck hunting, a little bit of everything, and have a nice big lodge, and you can bring their family up there and just let them just have an awesome time with all the right facilities for stuff like that. And I'll tell you another place that I really am fond of. That's close by is Yazoo County on the Big Black River.
I was going to be my question. You've had some good success on the Big Black. I know you would at least think about it.
Now, look, I hadn't hunted like you hunted, all right? So,
but the Big Black from Mississippi is good.
But I just don't think it gets any better than that, man. I mean, I
that track's back for sale.
Well, I heard that, but I had some friends that owned that track at one time. Mm-hmm. Can we say that on here? I mean,
sure.
Does it matter? I mean, Scotland Plantation,
right.
Yazoo County had like 3.5 miles of frontage in the Big Black. Man, like, that was the most awesome place
Well,
ever.
You're going to have $100 million, and New Ryan and I have a place with 10 miles of frontage on the new Big Black. So we're going Scotland's going to be nothing.
But, man, Scotland was unreal. It really was. I got to hunt up there for several years. I've never seen so much deer sign and just deer in general. I mean, every time I hunted up there, except for maybe once or twice, I mean, I had an opportunity to shoot a shooter buck, and I passed on a couple of them just because I don't want to go up there and kill everything, But that place was special, and that I got a lot of friends that hunt up there and have hunted up there for years, and that's hard to beat as far as a quick drive from here.
So let me summarize. You're going to have about 10,000 acres in Amite County. You're going to have Lindy, a nice house on the beach. You're going to have a place on the Big Black River and in southeast Kansas.
And then you forgot,
maybe
Yellowstone area. Get something up that
somewhere
way.
in Jackson Hole, something
like
that. Yeah, I went to Jackson Hole last year. It is a really cool area. It's for people from Amite County. It's just so weird. It's just like a different, it's people riding around just looking at animals. We're going down that moose road, and we're like, we could kill these suckers.
Well, my bucket list is a elk hunt. Mm-hmm. I mean, I love the turkey hunt. That's my favorite. I like the deer hunt, but I love the turkey hunt. And I just feel like the best combination of deer and turkey is going to be the elk hunt.
I'm going to warn you. I'm going to warn you. Elk hunting will ruin your life. It really will, because they're expensive and they're hard to kill. But good Lord, and they taste really good. But they're guys fun. Look. And I don't know the answer to this because I've done a good bit of elk hunting, but not enough to define this. There's nothing better than that first hoot of the morning turkey about blows your head off. Nothing better than that.
Yep.
At the same time, I've been running down the side of a ridge, and all of a sudden a bull bugle that I didn't know was there, and it sends chills up your spine and hairs you didn't know you had stand up. And you can't put it on. Will Primos can't put it on video. Trained assassins can't put. Nobody can put it on video. The sounds, and if anybody's ever been in the mountains, they know this. The sounds. It's like a tugboat crossed with a T-Rex. It is just like it's unreal. Like that. Just and when you and it's usually cold. When they're bugling, and if you see that smoke blowing out, it's. I ain't gonna lie. I mean, because you've been like this in Southwest Mississippi before. You have an encounter, or you kill a big buck, or you're about to kill a big buck, and you're a little bit cold, and then that adrenaline / nervousness kicks in, and then you get really, really cold. Dude, it happens like that. Let me
ask you this, lady: is it the same way when you shoot one shoot an elk out the back door of the camp?
Well, it was actually, that was the weirdest thing ever. The camp bull. I'm still eating on that sucker. He's good. I took a picture of his horns. I got to bring it to the taxidermist. My wife was asking, we're getting all our deer heads up, and she was asking when that was going to be ready, so I got to get it to the taxidermist. But yeah, I've hunted 10 years elk hunting all over the west over there, and the biggest bull I ever killed was 150 yards from the swimming pool.
That's awesome.
It's crazy. Hey, I don't care where he's at. He was close to the camp and ended up at a fair chase, big place connected to public ground, but he just liked to hang out by the camp. And the owner kept telling us there was a big 7x6 hanging out by the camp, and we didn't believe him, but it was. Well, we're going to conclude this thing. Brent, before we get off of here, tell everybody how they can hook up with you, your website, social media. Tell them where's the best place to get a hold of you.
All right. Our Facebook page at McMillan Land. Our website, www.macmillan.land. And of course, you can always give us a call at the office, 601-657-5858, or ourselves. But that Facebook page and the website, of course, the best ways to get us there.
Well, Brent does a really good job. Dana, his office does a really good job. Amite County is a good area. Brent focuses as much as on Amite County as I focus on Wilkinson County. Not that we don't sell stuff in a lot of other areas, but, you got to have a home base, and that's kind of our home base. And those two counties, if you don't know, are the two southernest counties in southwest Mississippi. So they're both an hour from Baton Rouge, 2 hours from New Orleans. Easy to get to. And Wilkinson's a river county. Amite is the next county over. They're a whole lot the same in pricing. And it's just a great area, man. It really is. It's where we grew up. I grew up on the line. We played ball together. It's easier for us to sell this area because we grew up here,
right.
And it's what we love, and it's on our $100 million question. We both said we'd buy land around here, so it's easy for us to sell.
Absolutely. Slade, thank you very much for having me today, man. Appreciate it.
No problem. We're both starving. We're about to eat some lunch, and then we're going to be selling some land this afternoon, so y'all have a blessed day.
Hey, thank you for listening to the Hunting Land Man podcast. If you will, take a moment, give us a 5-star written review, guys. This really helps us out. And if you know anybody you think will be interested in this podcast, please share it with them.